I'm 98 years old, and I need to tell you about the worst thing I ever watched happen to people. Worse than cancer, worse than heart attacks, worse than anything else I saw in my 50 years as a physician. I watched them lose their minds, slowly, piece by piece, until they didn't know their own children's names, until they couldn't remember they'd already asked the same question 5 times, until they looked at their spouse of 50 years like a stranger. I'm talking about dementia, Alzheimer's disease. And here's what makes me angry. Most of the cases I saw didn't have to happen. Not like that, not that early. The people who lost their minds at 70 could have kept them until 90. But they made choices, and those choices destroyed their brains years before their bodies gave out. My name is Dr. James Peterson. I practiced neurology and geriatric medicine from 1973 until I retired at 85. I specialized in cognitive decline, memory disorders, dementia. And over those 5 decades, I watched the same patterns play out hundreds of times. I'd see someone at 65 for minor memory complaints. By 70, they couldn't follow a conversation. By 75, they didn't recognize their grandchildren. By 80, they were gone, still breathing, but gone. And the whole time I knew what they'd done wrong. I knew what could have slowed it down or prevented it entirely. But most of them didn't listen until it was too late. And by the time dementia takes hold, you can't reverse it. You can only watch it progress. I'm making this video because I'm running out of time, and there are things you need to understand about your brain, things that will determine whether you spend your final years sharp and present or lost in a fog, unable to recognize the people who love you. The first thing you need to understand is that your brain cleans itself every night while you sleep. There's a system called the glymphatic system. It only activates during deep sleep, and it flushes out the toxic proteins that accumulate in your brain during the day. Amyloid plaques, tau tangles, the stuff that causes Alzheimer's. But this system only works if you sleep deeply for 7 to 9 hours. If you're getting 5 or 6 hours, if you're waking up multiple times per night, if you're taking sleeping pills that suppress deep sleep, your brain isn't cleaning itself. Those proteins are accumulating night after night after night, building up like plaque in a pipe. I had a patient named Robert, smart man, college professor. He came to see me when he was 68 because he was forgetting words, simple words. He'd be mid-lecture and couldn't remember the word for hypothesis or experiment. I asked about his sleep. He said he'd been a poor sleeper his whole life, 5 hours a night, maybe 6. He was proud of it, said he got more done than people who wasted time sleeping. I told him his brain was drowning in its own waste. I told him every night of poor sleep was another night those toxic proteins were building up. I begged him to prioritize sleep. He said he'd try. He didn't. By 72, Robert couldn't teach anymore. He'd forget what he was talking about mid-sentence. By 75, he couldn't hold a conversation. By 78, he was in a memory care facility. He died at 81. His wife told me he stopped recognizing her at 79. Robert's brain could have stayed sharp for another 20 years, but he chose 5 hours of sleep over brain health, and it killed his mind a decade before it killed his body. If you're watching this and you're not sleeping 7 to 9 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep, you're making the same mistake Robert made. Fix it now, not next week, now, because every night of poor sleep is another night your brain can't clean itself. The second pattern I saw was isolation, social isolation. And this one breaks my heart because it happens so gradually that people don't realize it's destroying them. When you're socially isolated, your brain doesn't get the stimulation it needs. Conversation requires complex cognitive processing. Remembering context, following threads, responding appropriately, reading social cues. When you stop having meaningful conversations, your brain starts to atrophy, like a muscle you don't use. But it's worse than that. Loneliness triggers chronic stress. Your cortisol stays elevated. And chronic cortisol damages your hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for forming new memories. So isolation doesn't just reduce stimulation. It actively damages the memory centers of your brain. I had a patient named Helen. She lost her husband when she was 71. They'd been married for 49 years. After he died, she stopped going out, stopped attending her book club, stopped calling friends. She said it hurt too much to be around couples. She said everyone else had moved on with their lives. I saw Helen 6 months after her husband died. She seemed fine, a little sad, but cognitively sharp. I saw her again a year later. She was struggling to follow our conversation. She'd repeat herself. Forget what we'd just discussed. I asked about her social life. She said she barely saw anyone anymore. Maybe her daughter once a week. By 74, Helen had moderate dementia. By 76, she was in assisted living. She died at 79, her mind completely gone. Helen's isolation didn't just make her sad, it destroyed her brain. And I'm convinced that if she'd stayed connected, if she'd forced herself to maintain relationships and have regular conversations, she could have kept her mind for another decade. You don't need a huge social circle. You just need regular, meaningful interaction. Real conversations, not texting, not scrolling Facebook. Actual face-to-face or voice-to-voice connection with other humans. Your brain needs it the way your body needs food. The third pattern was mental stagnation. People who retired and then just stopped learning, stopped challenging themselves, stopped doing anything that required complex thought. Your brain is plastic, neuroplasticity. It can form new connections throughout your entire life, but only if you use it. If you stop learning, stop solving problems, stop engaging with complex tasks, your brain starts to shrink. The neural pathways you don't use weaken and disappear. I had patients who retired at 65 and then spent the next 15 years watching television and doing crossword puzzles. They thought crossword puzzles were brain exercise. They're not. Not really. Once you've done 1,000 crossword puzzles, they're just pattern recognition. They don't create new neural pathways. I had a patient named Frank, engineer his whole career, brilliant problem solver. He retired at 66 and said he was going to take it easy. I told him he needed to keep learning, pick up a new language, learn an instrument, take a challenging class. He said he'd earned the right to relax. By 70, Frank was showing signs of cognitive decline. By 73, he had early-stage Alzheimer's. He spent his last 6 years watching his mind disappear while his body stayed relatively healthy. The fourth pattern was diet, specifically sugar and refined carbohydrates. There's a reason they're now calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. High blood sugar and insulin resistance don't just damage your body, they damage your brain. Your brain runs on glucose, but chronic high blood sugar impairs the brain's ability to use glucose effectively. It also increases inflammation, which damages neurons, and it interferes with the brain's ability to clear out those toxic proteins I mentioned earlier. I changed my own diet at 70 after seeing the pattern. Cut out sugar almost entirely. Drastically reduced refined carbs, increased healthy fats to fuel my brain, omega-3s from fish. My cognitive function actually improved. At 70, I got sharper, not duller. The fifth and final pattern was lack of movement. And I'm not talking about formal exercise. I'm talking about regular daily movement, walking, gardening, anything that gets blood flowing to your brain. Movement increases something called BDNF. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's like fertilizer for your brain. It helps form new neural connections. It protects existing neurons. It's one of the most powerful tools you have to prevent cognitive decline. I had patients who sat all day, sedentary lifestyle, and their brains aged faster than patients who moved regularly. The correlation was so strong I could almost predict who would develop dementia based on how much they moved. Now let me tell you about my wife. Her name was Catherine. She died 3 years ago at 96. We were married for 62 years, and she did everything right. Catherine was obsessive about sleep. 8 hours every night, dark room, no screens before bed. She'd go to bed at 9:30 like clockwork. She stayed connected. After I retired, she made sure we had dinner with friends at least twice a week. She joined a gardening club. She called our grandchildren regularly. She never let herself become isolated. She kept learning, took up oil painting at 75, started learning Spanish at 82 because she wanted to talk to our grandson's wife, read constantly, did challenging jigsaw puzzles and brain teasers. She ate well, very little sugar, lots of fish and vegetables and healthy fats. She walked every single day, sometimes just around the neighborhood, but she moved. Catherine died at 96 with her mind completely intact, sharp, present, able to hold complex conversations, able to remember things from 70 years ago and things that happened that morning. She died from a sudden stroke. Her brain was fine, and I got to have a real conversation with her the day before she died. That's what doing it right looks like. I'm 98 years old. My memory isn't perfect anymore, but it's pretty damn good for my age. I can follow conversations. I remember my grandchildren's names and what they're doing in their lives. I read and understand complex material. I'm making this video right now, organizing my thoughts, expressing myself clearly. I'm not special. I just followed the same advice I gave my patients for 50 years. Sleep 7 to 9 hours. Stay connected to people. Keep learning new things. Eat low-sugar, anti-inflammatory foods. Move every day. Most of my patients didn't listen, and I watched their minds disappear while I kept mine, and it breaks my heart, because it didn't have to be that way. You're watching this video right now, which means your brain still works. You can still understand. You can still make decisions. You can still change course, but you won't be able to forever. Once dementia starts, you can't reverse it. You can only slow it down if you're lucky. What are you going to do tonight? Are you going to stay up until midnight scrolling your phone, getting 5 hours of broken sleep? Or are you going to go to bed early and let your brain clean itself? What are you going to do tomorrow? Are you going to sit alone in your house watching television? Or are you going to call someone and have a real conversation? What are you going to do this week? Are you going to keep eating the same processed garbage that's inflaming your brain? Or are you going to make one change toward a healthier diet? What are you going to do this month? Are you going to keep doing the same easy, mindless activities? Or are you going to start learning something new that challenges your brain? Pick one thing, just one, and change it today. Because I promise you, if you end up with dementia, you'll wish you'd started earlier. You'll wish you'd taken it seriously. But by then, you won't remember this video. You won't remember making that choice. You won't remember anything. Your future self is depending on the choices you're making right now. Don't let them down. If this video scared you, good. It should. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me which one thing you're going to change. Subscribe because I'm 98 and I don't have much time left, but I've got more truth to tell. The clock is ticking. For all of us. What are you going to do with your mind while you still have it?